Clock is down under 5. Sanders from the gun. Throws underneath. Pass is complete, but he's shy. Shedeur dumps it off. He's got Fannin. And Fannin is tight end. Breaks a few tackles.
Absolutely a make-or-break game for his future with the Browns. I mean, I'm not going to say the future in the NFL because there's always somebody that might give you a second chance and grab you. But in terms of his future in Cleveland, it's this Sunday. He cannot look like trash. He cannot go out there and complete 25% of his passes. He cannot look lost and completely discombobulated. And we're not going to throw out excuses about him not having any reps with the first team. And I'm not saying this negatively towards him. I don't believe he was put in a position to succeed the other day. I don't believe he's been put in a position to succeed with the Cleveland Browns. I view the Cleveland Browns as a house divided, where whether it's an offensive coordinator and the head coach having a different view than the GM and the owner.
You won't believe this actually happened. Stephen A. Smith woke up, chose chaos, and went off on Shedeur Sanders, like he found out his Wi-Fi bill doubled overnight. It wasn't just a rant. It was a full-blown theatrical meltdown that had analysts blinking like they needed subtitles. And the wildest part? Shedeur didn't even do anything outrageous. This time. So buckle up. Because whatever Stephen A. unleashed must have come from a level of frustration scientists haven't discovered yet.
Is there anything to this Shedeur not getting first-team reps?
I think it's a little bit strange.
Yeah. You do think it? So you think it is?
I mean,
okay.
The guy's
right.
one turned ankle from one concussion check from upstairs. Drake May had to leave the game for 2 plays last week because upstairs they thought he had a concussion. Right. So how could he not get 1 rep during the week? Now, just because that's the answer doesn't mean that that's what's happening, but that struck me.
So you weren't buying what he was saying about, Dylan did because Flacco?
No, I buy that. I buy that he
Yes.
If you're enjoying, please subscribe Shedeur Sanders to the channel. It helps more than you think. The moment the Browns announced that Shedeur Sanders was going from QB4 to QB1, like he'd just skipped 3 levels of a video game, the football world went into full meltdown mode. Suddenly, every analyst turned into a detective, a fortune teller, and an amateur psychologist trying to figure out whether Sunday's game against the Raiders was a fresh start, a setup, or the NFL's most chaotic science experiment.
Shedeur Sanders has earned first-team reps when training camp commences later in July. I'm not saying like he's the first guy up when you do 11 on 11s, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at training camp. I'm not necessarily saying that, but he's the one quarterback that we didn't get a chance to see take reps with the ones. But I think Shedeur has a chance to make this conversation interesting if he gets those reps with the ones and he has the same success that he did with the 2s, the 3s, and the 4s. I have confidence he can show you.
And of course, leading the charge with volcanic energy was Stephen A. Smith, who treated Shedeur's situation like it was a government conspiracy wrapped in a coaching mystery, sprinkled with a little bit of sabotage theory for seasoning.
Respectfully, I don't give a damn. You have a coach in Kevin Stefanski who is a 2-time coach of the year. This man knows what he's doing. I respect the hell out of Kevin Stefanski. There is no way that you can send a quarterback out there looking that damn lost, not having any cadence, any reps whatsoever with the first team. No way. That's what happened. And I don't think that's an accident. That's just my personal opinion. I don't report on the Cleveland Browns. I'm not coming from a knowledgeable and informed perspective here. I haven't gotten word from anybody. No.
Because apparently, in Stephen A.'s universe, this one game this single Sunday afternoon might determine Shedeur's entire future in Cleveland. Not the NFL as a whole, just specifically Cleveland. Because even Stephen A. knows the league will always give a talented kid a second chance somewhere.
From a week of practice, let's let him get a game plan, and let's let him actually get some reps. You can see that it's there.
Mental reps compared to live bullets flying and doing the real thing is night and day. It is so difficult against that Baltimore defense to have no preparation throughout the week, at least from a physical standpoint.
If you watch that second half and watch what we've seen, he should just be the starter. Man, that dude at least tried to push the ball down.
But Cleveland, according to him, that door might slam shut like someone catching their sibling in their room without permission. And in classic Stephen A. fashion, he made it very clear. Shedeur cannot go out there looking like he forgot which team he plays for. No trash performance. No 25% completion rate. No wandering around the pocket like someone lost in a grocery store. And absolutely no excuses about reps with the first team. because Stephen A. has run out of grace, patience, apparently oxygen when discussing the Browns' organizational structure. Not that he blames Shedeur. In fact, he practically called the Browns a house divided, a franchise where the offensive coordinator and head coach might be playing checkers while the GM and owner are playing Monopoly. Or maybe nobody's playing anything because nobody knows what the other person is doing. According to him, Shedeur hasn't just been set up to fail. He wasn't even given the basic tools to succeed. Not reps, not preparation, not rhythm, not cadence, not even a chance to breathe before being thrown into live NFL fire. But hold that thought, because the moment Stephen A. started suggesting loudly that something intentional might be happening behind the scenes, Dan Orlovski nearly swallowed his own eyebrows. Dan heard the tone, heard the implication, and immediately went into, "Let's walk this back," before Twitter explodes mode. He wasn't even denying that the situation looked messy. He just wanted everyone to calm down with the sabotage theories.
Inept, a talented quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, at least when I saw him in college, was in his first pro debut when he came in after Dylan Gabriel went down. But now he's getting those reps because Kevin Stefanski has said he's starting this weekend. Now we're going to see. I'm not telling you got to go out there and look like a star or anything like that, but he cannot look completely clueless. He cannot look lost. It cannot replicate what he did that past weekend, and he's still going to have a future in Cleveland. I don't believe it for 1 second. That's what I believe is on the line right now when we're talking about Shedeur Sanders.
But Stephen A. wasn't walking anything back. He doubled down like a man filling out a parlay slip. Because to him, if you are a two-time coach of the year and you send out a quarterback who looks completely lost, something is off. And not in a whoops. Tough day at the office, why more, and a how did it QB to go out there looking like he downloaded the playbook that morning kind of way. Dan tried reasoning with him using logic, numbers, and the these things happen argument. But Stephen A. wasn't operating on logic. He was operating on vibes, suspicion, and 30 years of watching football organizations do unexplainable things. And he wasn't buying the idea that this was just bad luck or a rookie moment. Because apparently once you hit QB 3 under Stefanski, people start asking questions. But then the conversation shifted to the real debate, whether this game actually determines anything for Shedeur long term. That's when Ryan Clark jumped in with enough energy to power First Take's entire panel. RC didn't just disagree, he dismantled the whole one game decides your future argument like it was built from paper straws. Because to him, it's the whole idea of evaluating a rookie quarterback based on 1 week of first team reps and the league's worst skill group is ridiculous. Shedeur is stepping into a team that couldn't buy offensive production with a Black Friday discount, and somehow he's supposed to carry them after 4 practices. Not happening.
NFL scouts, aficionados said the game appeared to be too quick for him, that he routinely held onto the ball too long and was subjected to immense pressure, 11 quarterback pressures and 2 sacks, by the way. I don't know whether Shedeur Sanders is an NFL quarterback or not, and I don't blame anybody for assuming and surmising that he may not be. But how does he get 0 snaps with the first team? How a player is able to say they were unfamiliar with his snap count? He wasn't.
But RC wasn't stopping there. He took the conversation further, deeper, and pettier in the best way possible. Because while Dan wanted to keep things neutral and logical, RC pulled out the life ain't fair card like someone who's lived it. And he pointed out what everyone secretly knew, but refused to say. There's a difference in how organizations treat their third-round QBs versus their fifth-round ones. And Shedeur, he's the fifth-rounder, which means you're not getting the royal treatment. You're not getting the red carpet. You're not getting priority reps, custom play designs, or extra patience. You're getting whatever scraps are left after everyone else eats. And Cam Newton wasn't having any of the sugarcoating either. He said it plainly. This is a make-or-break situation, not because it should be, but because that's how the football world works. In the eyes of the league, Shedeur's film has to be sizzling. Not warm. Not promising. Not, he'll get better. No, sizzling. Because if it isn't, fans, critics, and half the city of Cleveland are going to start screaming, "See, I told you." Before Shedeur even reaches the tunnel, and while the analysts tried to soften it, Stephen A. was determined to hit the panic button. Twice. Maybe 3 times. He even used Jerry Jeudy as an example of how quickly the city and media can turn on someone when they look checked out. And if Shedeur puts up another 4-4-16 game with a passer rating that looks like someone's shoe size, Stephen A. made it clear, Cleveland fans will lose their minds. And the narrative around him will collapse faster than the Browns' playoff hopes in any given decade.
And all these guys. And sounds like he did pretty good. I've seen the video clips. He's moving in the pocket well. He's finding his targets. He's hitting his targets. He's making plays on the run. He's throwing accurate passes on the move. He's doing all the things that during the pre-draft process, scouts and analysts said would be his positives, his pros moving into the NFL. And he looks impressive. It looked good. And I just want to see what continues to...
Dan Orlovski. Bless him, kept trying to be the voice of reason. He tried to remind the panel that the Browns' offense is practically fictional at this point, that even great quarterbacks would struggle with this personnel, and that judging Shedeur based on this mess would be borderline absurd. But Stephen A. wasn't there to be reasonable. He was there to be dramatic, to holler, to release stress into the universe through passionate football monologues. But then the conversation shifted again, and now we were grilling Kevin Stefanski like he was testifying before Congress. Was he preparing Shedeur properly? Did he give him enough reps? Did he mismanage the quarterback room? Or was this entire thing an unfortunate storm of bad timing, rookie chaos, and organizational confusion? Cam brought up the real receipts. Joe Flacco, backup reps, Stefanski refusing to say Shedeur's name in the media for weeks, and the odd decisions that made everyone squint a little harder. Not accusatory, just suspicious. Like that feeling when someone insists they didn't eat your leftovers, but the fridge smells like you're missing spaghetti. RC backed it up by pointing out that Cleveland hasn't exactly been rolling out the red carpet for Shedeur since draft day. From being picked lower than expected to being treated like an afterthought behind other rookies, the organization hasn't exactly screamed, "We believe in you, kid."
Now, the knock against him is that he's about the why. He's not somebody that just does what he's told. He wants to know why. That's true, but it smells. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but it smells to me. I really viewed him as being set up to fail, or at least not prepared to succeed. Maybe set up to fail is too strong because it speaks to the intent of a malice nature by the head coach, Kevin Stefanski, which I would not do. I'm not going.
But Dan, ever the optimist, still pushed the idea that the Browns weren't intentionally throwing him into chaos. They were just doing what they thought was best for the team. Even if it didn't look pretty, and Stephen A., after 25 years of knowing Stefanski's family personally, tried his absolute hardest not to accuse the man of sabotage. He even paused, clarified, and restated that he wasn't saying Stefanski did anything wrong. But he also made it very clear that a lot of people, especially in Cleveland, were thinking otherwise. And that if Shedeur went out there looking completely unprepared again, the noise would be deafening. And that's where everything landed. Franchise that looks fractured, a fan base ready to combust. Analysts split between logic, fear, and sheer frustration. And Shedeur Sanders standing in the middle of it all, making his first NFL start with, for practices, a depleted offense, 50 cameras pointed at him, and expectations heavier than a defensive lineman's lunch tray. According to Stephen A., this isn't just a game. It's a pressure cooker. It's a judgment day. It's a career-defining moment, wrapped in chaos, confusion, and maybe, just maybe, a little suspicious energy. But according to Dan and RC, it's just football. A tough situation, a rookie moment, chance to learn, grow, and prove he belongs.
If Zach Jackson and him and everybody else that we talked to have said that Shedeur looks good, he looks really good.
Yes.
He looks better. And we got Zach that say Dylan Gabriel ain't even an NFL quarterback.
That's true.
So how is it that this man can't get a rep with the ones, but that non-NFL quarterback can?
We all
what
agree with
sense
that.
does that make?
It makes no sense.
Clearly, the guys running the team disagree with us.
Man,
it doesn't make any
and they're
sense.
the ones.
What are y'all trying to? What is the goal of this year?
Either way, Sunday's coming. And with everything building up around him, Shedeur Sanders isn't just stepping into a football game. And the funniest part was how, Everyone on set pretended this wasn't one of Stephen A's full meteor shower meltdowns. They were sitting there nodding, like he had just broken down ancient philosophy instead of launching into a frustration-fueled roast. A session that could have powered a small city. Meanwhile, producers were off-screen calculating how many sponsorships they were about to lose if he went even 1 decibel louder. But the moment he brought up Shedeur, everything shifted. You could practically feel the entire panel tighten up like a group project team, hearing the kid who never does work announce he has opinions. Stephen A went from mildly irritated to spiritually offended in about 3 seconds. Suddenly, Shedeur wasn't a quarterback. He was the human embodiment of every frustration Stephen A's ever had with the youth, modern sports, and the price of hairline maintenance. In the way he framed it, you'd swear Shedeur had personally marched into ESPN headquarters and switched Stephen A's coffee to decaf. The man launched into a breakdown of Shedeur's decisions like he was reviewing an Oscar-winning psychological thriller. Every drop snap, every half-second hesitation, every moment he dared look confident, Stephen A found a way to make it sound like a national emergency.
So they get to 11-on-11 session, apparently, and they've got the first team defense out there, but it's the second team offense going against the first team. And who's leading the second team offense? It's Shedeur Sanders. So Shedeur Sanders is taking reps, and this is what we've been asking for forever. He's taking reps against the first team defense. And by all accounts, kid held his own. And you got to remember when we're talking about this, I'm not saying that Shedeur Sanders took first team reps. He did not. He took second team reps against the first team defense. He's playing with.
Meanwhile, the panel sat there trying not to blink too hard, because blinking too hard meant you were disagreeing, and disagreeing meant you were next. That's the Stephen A rulebook. Once the flames start, either get out of the kitchen or be prepared to be sautéed. But the real comedy kicked in when he started talking about Shedeur's confidence. The man acted like Shedeur was walking around the facility wearing a king's robe, carrying a scepter and demanding people address him as Your Highness of Boulder. As if Shedeur wasn't just trying to play football while the entire sports universe analyzed his breakfast choices. Yet Stephen A kept going, spiraling into a monologue about expectations, entitlement, generational differences, and whatever else popped into his head. At this point, even the camera operators were probably texting their group chat. He's not stopping. Someone unplugged him before we missed our lunch break, and Shedeur. He was somewhere minding his business, probably tying his shoes or practicing footwork drills, having no idea he was the main character in a televised volcanic eruption. That's the Shedeur experience. You sneeze. And suddenly 5 analysts are debating whether your respiratory timing affects your draft stock.
You're a QB2. Your QB1 is an undersized dude, a hit away from getting concussed and taken out of the game. Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. He knows a thing or two about coaching football. How unprepared did Shedeur Sanders look? Suddenly he's not comprehending plays. Suddenly he doesn't know the playbook. Suddenly he doesn't know what's going on. That's not the reputation that we've ever heard about Shedeur Sanders. We've heard he's incredibly familiar with the playbook. We've heard that he's very, very smart.
Then Stephen A brought up leadership, which was the moment everyone knew things were about to get spicy. Because once he gets into leadership mode, he starts talking with his whole body. His hands flying, chair leaning, eyebrows auditioning for their own show. He transforms into a motivational speaker who lost his notes but kept the energy. He painted the situation like Shedeur had staged a coup, rewritten the team's constitution, and established himself as quarterback emperor. All because he showed a little confidence. Confidence in Stephen A's world is only acceptable if you're a veteran, a legend, or someone who personally calls him after games. Anyone else? Apparently it's a federal offense, every time. He made a point. He paused like he expected lightning to strike the building for dramatic effect. But nothing struck, probably because even the weather knew better than to interrupt him mid-rant. Yet underneath all that noise was one undeniable reality. Stephen A wasn't actually mad at Shedeur. He was mad at the confusion surrounding Shedeur. The hype, the pressure, the expectations, the noise, all of it swirling around a rookie trying to figure out the NFL like everyone else. But instead of saying that plainly, Stephen A decided to deliver it in the form of a thunderstorm monologue. That had the panel debating whether to clap or call security.